Welcome to Bitesize Breakfast Bible Bitz. It's what God sees that counts. That's the conclusion I came to when I looked at who Jesus picked to take his message of good news to the world. On day one of Jesus' resurrection, when Jesus gatecrashed the disciples' lockdown, hideaway, fear party, it was to tell them he had a job for them. John 20 and verse 21 tells us Jesus said, "As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." Now, if you were going to launch a global enterprise and needed a small, dynamic, compact team to head up that project, who would you choose? To help you with your choice, you might want to Google, as I did, Vodafone's Meet the Leadership Team page. If you do, you'll see an incredible array of really clever, bright, highly motivated, smart-looking people, oozing with confidence and full of expertise in every aspect of business. They've got a business strategy director, a performance director, an enterprise director, a marketing director, a legal director, a commercial and operations director, a human resources director, a finance director. The list goes on. You probably wouldn't choose 11 illiterate fishermen who liked arguing among themselves and fighting for positions of power and prominence. Oh yeah, and a taxman who everyone hated. Yet this is exactly the group that Jesus personally handpicked. The Bible tells us that before deciding who his disciples would be, Jesus spent the night praying to God. As a result, Jesus was filled with insight, and he then chose his disciples. Luke chapter 6 and verses 12 and 13 says, "One of those days Jesus went out to a mountainside to pray and spent the night praying to God. When morning came, he called his disciples to him and chose 12 of them, whom he designated apostles." Jesus didn't choose the disciples on the basis of what he saw in them that morning. He chose them on the basis of what he had planned for them to do, on the basis of what he was going to do with their lives. One of the names the Bible uses to describe Jesus is Emmanuel. Isaiah chapter 7 and verse 14, which means God is with us. This name is not a name that's just for Christmas. This is God's promise to you. You see, God is with you every day. And if God is with you, it does not matter what your age is. That's why he chose Abraham. It does not matter what your experience is. That's why he chose David. It does not matter what your past is. That's why he chose Paul. It does not matter what your gender is. That's why he raised up Esther. It does not matter what your appearance is. That's why he chose little Zacchaeus. It does not matter what your fluency of speech is. That's why he chose Moses. It does not matter what your career is. That's why he chose Mary Magdalene. What matters is that God is with you. And God is with you. The group gathered in that lockdown house on day one of Jesus' resurrection was not a random collection of people who just coincidentally happened by chance to be there. They were chosen by God. You too have been chosen by God. Ephesians chapter 1 and verse 4 says, "For he chose us in him before the creation of the world." And Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 10 tells us that, "For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." So be encouraged. God has chosen you. And as the Apostle Paul says in Philippians chapter 4 and verse 13, it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good pleasure. You have a great day, and I'll see you on Monday.